So how about we start lying on our backs? It's always a good place to start, isn't it? Have the knees bent if you need to. Otherwise, just resting your arms beside the body. And maybe we just take a moment just to notice the body initially. So we're coming into the body, noticing the body, and maybe we take a falling out breath, a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then we might connect with the breath, so we'll stay with the breath. Breathing in and out through the nose if you can, and just this sense of deepening into your inhalation and lengthening into your exhalation. So really trying to connect with the breath, it's so important. So we notice the rib cage moving possibly to accommodate the breath. We notice movement in the upper abdomen to accommodate the breath. A sense of consciously lengthening into the exhalation. And then we're going to connect the breath with the movement maybe. So the inhalation, and we might gather the knees in towards the sides of the chest, so we're not pulling on the legs in any way. A settling of the knees down towards the earth and in towards your hip joints as well in many respects. And then we're just going to release slowly the left foot to the earth, as if it were like a leaf resting, floating, being blown from the tree and floating down to the earth. So slowly, slowly, the left foot finds the earth. Just notice that movement through your left hip joint. Try not to grip through the left groin. And we keep the right knee down towards the earth and the right thigh bone deep in the right hip. And we might explore what happens when we start to open through the back of the right leg. And some of you might take your right hand to the outer right leg. So even though like the knee is orientated a little bit off to the side of the chest, there's still a sense that the right foot could come in towards the midline as well. So there's that possibility anyway in the leg, and still the right knee goes down and into the right hip, and maybe we hold the right foot, as long as that doesn't aggravate the right shoulder in any way and in any way compromise your ability to breathe, and we still have the breath, the body. And then slowly, slowly on an exhalation, the right foot, as if that too were a leaf now, starts to float its way down to the earth. So the right foot starts to find the earth, down it goes. And notice that movement through the right hip, softening the right groin, and then when the right foot finds the earth and it rests there, we might take a breath in and the left knee gathers in towards the left side of the chest. You see that? So it's kind of going down with gravity and down into your left hip. Okay, so that when we then start to explore opening the back of the left leg, we're not trying to pull the left leg bone out of the left hip. If anything, we're doing completely the opposite of that. And even though the left foot's kind of headed maybe to like the back left-hand corner of your mat, I want you to have a sense in the leg that it could go over towards the right-hand back corner of the mat possibly. And maybe your left hand might hold some part of the foot or leg, and not pulling in any way, just supporting. And still there's the breath, still you have your breath, and the shoulders and the earth. And then we'll take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, so now the left foot, the leaf again, starts to find the earth again. There it is. And you notice how that feels through the hips, and maybe your lower back rounds away from the mat, and you let that happen. And then we're going to roll over to either side of the body, and bring ourselves all the way up onto all fours from here. Okay? And actually from here, let's just slowly release the sitting bones in the direction of the heels, not tucking the tailbone under, not sticking it out. So there's a sense of collecting it into the hip joints. And then just take your hands ahead of you, like at shoulder height, away from the mat. And you might need to close your eyes to really come into the body, and you'll need to embrace a little bit of visualization here, but I'm playing around with this recently. This idea that your hands are on the seawall, so if you don't live near the beach and you don't have a seawall, then it's going to be a bit more tricky for you. But those of you familiar with the notion that you might put your hands on a seawall and look over the seawall to see who's there. So it could be any wall, it doesn't have to be the seawall. But but just have that sense in the body that your hands are resting on a wall and you're just trying to bring yourself up a little higher to look over the wall. So you'll feel that maybe the sitting bones come up, maybe the thigh bones go deeper in the hip joints, maybe the arm bones go deeper in the shoulder joints. Keep that feeling, the deepening in the shoulder joints, particularly as the hands find the earth, maybe 20 to 30 centimetres to hold ahead of your knees. And so the hands come to rest on this wall now, your imaginary wall, and you can open your eyes, keep them closed, whatever you choose, and start to peer over your wall as you tuck the toes under. So there's a sense of, obviously the weight needing to come back a little bit so you don't topple over your wall, but there's a sense in your hands, and these are tender hands, that you're just looking over the wall. And I want you to keep that sense of looking over the wall as you take a breath in, breath out, breath in, and start to open through the back of your knee joints. So the buttocks go up in the air, but not because you're forcing them up. And still there's a sense of peering over the wall as more of your heels might find the earth. And still there's a sense of peering over the wall. And we're going to keep this sense of peering over the wall as we might start to walk the feet towards the hands. Now this is going to get tricky for some of you. You might have to have your knees bent. Otherwise, if you can take your legs forward straight, you almost swing them around to bring them in straight, then do so. But still these hands, your hands, are on the imaginary wall and you're looking over the wall. So maybe you have to have the knees bent. Now if you have blocks, you could always take blocks underneath your hands. But in theory, the hands are still on the earth and there's that sense of looking over the wall. So you might have to have your knee bent like I have. But still, bring that into the upper body so you're not rounding your upper spine. Some of you might be able to take your feet almost all the way to the back of your wrist joints and open through the back of the knees and still have that sense of finding the wall and looking over the wall. And breathe. Lovely. And then we'll take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to bend your knees. The knees will come forwards, but actually the thigh bones go back. Come onto the fingertips, start to lift the gaze and lift. I say lift, the crown of the head comes up. And so the arms are free, and we'll take a breath in and use your feet and your legs to bring you up so you're not unrolling the spine, so you're not having to engage all the big back muscles potentially. And here we are standing. And you can stay exactly as you are, but I'm going to turn to face you actually. And so the feet might be about hip distance apart, let's say. And then how about we find the left foot and the left heel, left foot and left heel. And then you might find a drishti, a focal point, as you find your left heel. Let's see if we can inhale the right foot up away from the earth. And gather the right knee towards the right side of your chest, just like you did when you were lying on your back actually. So there's a sense of the left knee coming towards like the wall behind you and down into your right hip, and then from your right hip, so from the bone, the thigh bone in the hip joint, turn the right knee. So that's what moves the right knee. So the right knee goes over towards the right side of the mat, but not because you're yanking the knee around, but because you're moving the thigh bone in the hip joint, right? So the pelvis is still a bowl, like this bowl of this has freedom. You can have fish swimming in your bowl, and then we might gather the right foot into the left leg. Okay, and you still have a softness behind the pubic bones, and the hands could gather together in front of the heart. And we could breathe. And we find more of the left heel, so Vritsasana, the tree pose. And can you find more of your shoulders, the softness, and the gathering almost, the gathering into like the breastbone and space behind, or between I should say, the shoulder blades. And then we'll take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, slowly, you need to orientate from the thigh bone, right knee forward, and down it goes. Right foot finds the earth, there it is, it's found the earth. And we find the right heel. That's it. And then having found the right heel, the hands can go down. Let's take a breath in. And as we find the heel, so the right heel, so the left foot finds more of the air possibly. The knee comes towards the back of the room and down into the left hip joint through the thigh bone, obviously. And then there's the rotation of the thigh bone in the hip joint that takes the left knee over to the left. So you're not pulling the leg away from the body in any way. Excuse me, there's a deep connection, and then we'll gather the left foot in towards the right leg.
And then maybe we could just try something different here, right? So we could take the elbows down into the side waist and the hands onto the side. I think we call this cormorant arms. Actually, one of my students named it that. It's like the cormorant drying its wings. So we'll take a breath in, keep the arm bones right up in the shoulders. So all you're doing is sort of opening through your elbow joints. I think my hands disappear off the screen. That's fine. And then the hands are just going to find one another as if they were like magnets. And there's the breath. And then we'll take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, you can release the hands. And then you can come all the way back around and then find the earth again. Well done. That was really good. Okay, and then from here, I'm just going to turn. You can stay as you are. I'm going to turn to face the front of the mat. And then I might just step my right foot forward, okay, just a little bit, and I'll find the right heel. And then maybe I'll take my hands to the top of the hip flexors here. She's just wondering, I don't want to disappear off the screen. Okay, and we're going to find the right heel again, and we'll find the spine. And all we're going to do is, as the weight goes into the right foot, and the space between your right thigh and your right side of torso shortens, so the left foot goes up in the air. So you come into Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3, and the sole of the left foot can feel the air, and that's great because the right foot's going, it's okay, I've got the earth, left foot, so you can find more of the air. Maybe the hands just slip beside the body there with the palms facing up, so you're not pulling the arm bones out of the shoulder joints. And we breathe. And we breathe. And then we take a breath in and we start to come up just as we went into the posture. So as the head goes up, the left foot goes down, the left foot finds the earth, and the right foot comes back beside the left foot. And we breathe here. And we might take a breath in and we might step the left foot forward now, just a little bit, doesn't need to go much. And we find the left foot and the left heel, and we find the inner arch. We take the hands, we lift the right heel, and we take the hands to the hip creases perhaps. And trying to avoid flaring the ribs or softening, like sinking in the tummy, like all gripping actually. So literally all we do is maintain the integrity of the spine. And we take a breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. And as we shorten, so the distance between the left thigh and the pelvis there shortens, and you'll find your torso goes downwards in space without letting the head drop and drag you down, and the right toes and the right leg goes up, and it can feel really light actually. So the more that we can rest the left heel, the more lightness we might find in the right, and then we might just slip the hands beside the body there with the palms facing up, and so there's a sense of softness through the chest, through the shoulders, and you feel the lightness in your lifted leg. And the breath. And then we'll take a breath in, breath out, and start to return all the way back up so the right foot then finds the earth, and the left foot can come back from there. And then maybe we'll come down, have a go at coming down through Malasana, so take your feet apart from one another. And again, just settling with your breath, so come into, notice root of spine, feet, and slowly we'll come down from here. Try not to let the buttocks completely drag you down. It's tricky though, that is tricky. There's a sense of almost the thigh bones going back. Try not to allow too much movement through the spine, so allow everything else to move to accommodate it. And down we go. Try not to sink the buttocks completely down, but actually the buttocks are going to come down because we're literally going to come down onto our buttocks. And then from there, we're going to come down to lie on our back. And we're going to pick the feet up though, let the feet come up as the thigh bones go down. And we'll take a breath in and a breath out, and then slowly the soles of the feet will find the earth as if they were leaves coming back down onto the earth. Slowly, so feel the deepening of the thigh bones in the hip joints, the feet find the earth. And then maybe we let more of the arms and the hands find the earth. So
The arms quite close into the sides of the body, and there's a sense of the shoulders resting down and the hands resting down. And maybe for some of you, your lower back has already started to just gently round away from the earth, and there's a sense of the pubic bone moving forward in space, and then we find the hands, shoulders resting down, find the heels, then find your tailbone and sort of deepen your tailbone up to the back of your navel center, and really noticing that movement of tailbone up to the back of the navel center. Let that bring you up almost, so we'll take a breath in, and then continue, obviously, the breath, tailbone still to navel center, feeling your feet on the earth, so the buttocks aren't gripping, noticing the hands on the earth so the shoulders aren't being gripped. And the breath, notice the breath, and have a sense of the crown of the head joining the top of the spine, like a line with your ears, I guess, and still the tailbone coming up, and still the breath, Setu Bandhasana. And then we'll take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, and maybe you need to take a couple of rounds of breath, we'll slowly bring the back and the buttocks back down onto the mat. Slowly, slowly. And just let that settle. And then we might inhale, the knees can settle in towards the sides of the chest again. Just notice how that feels. Hands can just support the legs without gripping. And then on an exhalation, slowly, slowly, the legs can find the earth, and we can turn the palms out, and we can just let that all settle. So we might take another falling out breath, possibly a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then 2 rounds of Bhramari breath, the bumblebee breath. So we'll take a breath in. And then just resting here. Just let the body rest. No need to do anything, being anywhere. And it's possible you stay here for a good 5 to 10 minutes if that's possible. But otherwise, we're going to maybe gather the knees back in towards the chest. And we might roll to one side of the body, preferably the right side if you've got space. Before bringing ourselves all the way up to a seated position. Just finding a seated position and just noticing how you're feeling, so still in the body, noticing how you're feeling, body, breath, mind, soul. Maybe you finish with a pose of humility, hands to the earth, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, bowing down to yourself, first and foremost. And then we'll take a breath in, and we'll begin to walk the hands back, bringing the hands together in front of the heart in prayer position. And maybe we'll bow the head to the heart. May all beings be free from their suffering and the causes of their suffering. As you slowly now open the eyes. And namaste. Thank you.